Hi there and welcome to the House Drumworks. We're in sight reading land here, working mainly from the Rockschool grade 2-3 sort of level, from the 2012 syllabus, that's the new syllabus, the green books. So I'll show you the front of one of those. There they are, it's this one here. We've covered sort of quarter notes, eighth notes and 16th notes, 16th notes to a basic level. What we now have here are what I would refer to as mixed note groupings, what are sometimes referred to as broken 16th groupings as well. And that's where we have mixtures of note values within the same unit, if you like. Certainly grade 2 introduces one of these, grade 3 carries on, so I'm going to try and cover both those areas and actually kind of get two birds with one stone, as you might say. So the idea is here, we've got a bar of 4/4, this is from the previous 16th note tutorial. 16th notes through the bar, so 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and I'm sure you remember that counting system. Using single strokes, leaning with the right, 1E. Obviously if you're a lefty, you probably would reverse that sticking. So 16th notes through the bar. The concept that we're going to look at to create these broken 16ths is basically knocking some holes within these 16th note groups. Now, for instance, let's take an example. If we have the count of 1, E and A. Let's say we wanted to create a rhythm that just had the first 3 16th notes. So what we're essentially doing is leaving a gap at the last point there. Now, if we were notating this, we couldn't just leave that space. We'd need to put something there to tell us that there isn't a beat there. And that's where we would use a 16th note rest. Now when we see these printed, it's rather like the 8th note rest, but with two, they say balloons on sticks. When I write them like that. But essentially that you've got these two little commas, if you like, coming off the rest there, which represent the beams that join 16th notes together. It's a 16th note rest, so it lasts for the same length as 16th beat, but just tells us that we're not playing anything for that length of time. So if we have 1, E and rest, we need to put one of those rests in at that spot to tell us that there isn't a beat there. Okay, that seems to be the note group that's introduced around about grade 2, but they write it slightly differently. Show you how that works. Here's the note group that we're writing. What we can do is, as we mentioned earlier with minims, so longer note values, what we can do to have a note and a rest, to get rid of the necessity for the rest if we're playing the snare drum, certainly, we can make this note longer. So if we think of a note that would last between the count of and 2, well, that would be an 8th note. So if we turn this note into an 8th note, we get rid of the need to have the rest because the note would be lasting for that length of time. The way we would write that is write it below. So I'm going to write it in line with the notes above. There's our 3 dots, and this is where our rest is going to be. Or we'll call it space now because we're not actually going to write a rest. And there's that note group. So what we've done is we've got 2 16th notes, then an 8th note at the end. So this 8th note will now last until 2. So we've knocked out the need for the rest. And this is one of the things that's a little bit unusual with reading snare drum rhythm that's different maybe to playing other instruments where you can sustain the note a little bit more easily. So we've been using the trumpet player example quite a lot in these tutorials. So as we will play that on the snare drum, 1, and that will be it. If you're playing a trumpet, ba ba ba, you blow that last note just a little bit longer up till 2. But we've just got to imagine on the snare drum that it's lasting for that length of time. So we could say either 1, E and, or short, short, long is another way of thinking it. So short, short, long, 16th note, 16th note, 8th note. The other thing to consider with this is the sticking pattern. We've knocked out this last beat. A good way of actually playing that is to also then just take out that stick movement that would have played on that beat, right, left, right, nice natural rhythm, right hand's ready to play the next main count. So this is a rhythm that we have in the grade 2 example on page 32. So I'll say it's the new syllabus Rockschool grade 2 book. 70 crotchets a minute. So I'll set the metronome running. That's going to beat 70 times in a minute. I'm going to play through the sight reading example there, so you see how that works. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and steady there. So you'll see we've got that note group in the first bar and in the third bar. The other variation on this, this mixed note grouping that I'm going to look at here is in the grade 3 book. So we do actually have this 2 16th notes and an 8th note group. We also have a variant which is kind of the other way around, an 8th note and then 2 16th notes. So let's take the count of 3 in this bar here. So we do the same sort of thing. We've got the long note at the beginning, so we're taking away the count of E. So again, if we were writing it like longhand, if you like, up here, we'll put the 16th note rest in there. Actually, if we make that first note an 8th note, that now lasts for that length of time. So rather than a 16th note and a 16th rest, we'll turn it into an 8th note, 3 and a. Same thing with the sticking. If we miss out the left hand that would have played on E, we get a consistent sticking right, right, left. And what that gives us, because these 16th notes might be quite quick, it gives us this right, left, and then your right hand's ready to play on whatever might be on the next main count. Okay, so long, short, short. 3 and up will be our rhythm at that point. So the sight reading test that we've got, again, 2012 syllabus, Rockschool, page 32, sight reading piece there. There's a bit of a boundary of tempos. I mean, I guess that they might have some slightly more complicated rhythm content that will be down at a slower tempo. This example is at 80. So quite a bright tempo. You get 90 seconds to prepare, remember, with these. So you want to use that time when you do them in the exam. Make sure that you tap along. And play as much as you can. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's dat, dega, dat, dega, dat sort of movement in the last bar using this group. There you go. So other common uses for broken 16ths, certainly in fills. We get quite a lot of opportunities to maybe use them in drum kit grooves as well. So instead of maybe 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and hi-hat rhythms, we could use this sort of groove. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. This sort of thing, a little bit more movement. The second example, 1 and the 2, 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and etc. So these sort of broken 16th kind of grooves are quite funky. The other thing I wanted to touch on again, just very, very briefly here, is that grade 2, grade 3 starts introducing groups of quavers with a rest as well. So we get quaver, rest, quaver, this sort of movement. All we need to think of is if this was on the count of 1, it's a half count rest, so a quaver rest which lasts till and. So it's just going to put that beat on and there, and you'll see how that works through these examples from how I just played them with the metronome there a moment ago. So there's some broken 16ths, grade 2 and grade 3 sight reading pieces. Again, swat up a little bit on those previous sight reading tutorials and make sure you're absolutely cast iron on this stuff, because you can't stress this enough. Once you've learnt it once, it's there, and the more that you do it right, the more confident you'll be with your sight reading. And there you go. You've got up to a good level of sight reading within sort of a half-hour investment or so. It's absolutely crazy not to do it and make sure that you get it right. So take your time, be thorough. Drop any comments at the end of the video if there's anything that you'd like me to go over a little bit more tightly, because it is a difficult thing to get over. It's not hugely complex, but it is a difficult thing to sort of teach and therefore to learn. So take your time with it, pick your way through, and good luck with that.